What's going on? It's your host, Chaz Barnes, back with another episode of the Night Audit. I hope you all are having a great Memorial's Day. When you all watch this, this will be uploaded by tomorrow morning. We're going to kick things off, right? Because we had some things that happened over the weekend. And we are, as y'all see, look at the changes we're making. I like that, you know what I'm saying? But if it's your first time being here, please give yourself a hand clap. If it's your second, third, fourth, fifth time, also give yourself a hand clap as well. But we're going to kick it off right here with, we got some stories
for you all. 15 years behind bars for her role in the death of rapper Julio Foolio.
Andrews is among 5 people out there found guilty in the rap artist's death. She was first to be sentenced as well. Last year, a jury found her guilty of manslaughter. Andrews helped track Julio Foolio, whose real name was Charles Jones, before he was ambushed and killed outside a Tampa hotel in 2024. Before sentencing, her attorneys asking the verdict to be just thrown out, claiming Andrews did not get a fair trial. That judge denied the request. Jones's mother spoke in court before Andrews received the maximum sentence.
It is extremely painful to hear Alicia Andrews portray herself as someone who didn't know what was going on. Whether she pulled the trigger or not, my son would still be alive today had people not participated in carrying out this plan.
A jury recommended life in prison for the other 4 men convicted of murder in this case. They are expected to be sentenced next month.
So we're going to start right there. Now, I did a video with the Sean Gat right. If you haven't watched that video, you can check it out as well. I did some digging. I saved the video because I had like a longer video that I downloaded to watch. It was like 11 minutes. Like when she got sentenced, I think her sentence came down on the 22nd. So she got sentenced to 15 years on the 22nd. The other gentlemen in the case, they were, they got sentenced, I think, last week. But they're all facing, the other ones are facing life in prison and whatnot. Originally, Alicia Andrews they wanted to give her the same, with the death penalty as the others. But I mean, the jury came back and said, no, we give you 15 years manslaughter and whatnot. Now, might just do 7 years. Now, she might do 7 years. Now, I did a little bit more digging on this person. Isaiah Chance and her were dating, and they had a child. I believe they had a child, and I think it was an abusive relationship. So they were on their way from Jacksonville to Tampa to apparently, eventually carry out the assault on Julio Foolio's life, on his life. So, and I looked at the court TV as well, just trying to, because again, her trial just started, like, it was back in October. So I trying to piece it, more together. And they did ping cell phone towers like 200 miles from Jacksonville to Tampa, where they met up at the club in an eventual hotel that eventually led to the demise of Mr. Charles Jones, out of respect for his mom. But because the boyfriend was using the phone, apparently her phone was used in it, and I guess he was making phone calls or text messages and stuff like that, setting things in motion. Now, when the video I watched before I got on and whatnot, I was like, okay, I was watching a little bit of her testimony and whatnot, and it's a gamble, when I say this, because you can know, and like the mom said, you can, whatever you didn't pull the trigger or anything like that, you still was involved. Something was off. The woman intuition broke somewhere. And I know there was a part of reconciliation. It could be, scared. But I would never put my woman in a situation like this. At all. I won't. I would not do that. First of all, I wouldn't even try to put my own self in that situation as well. But if it had to be, it would be me. Because it's hard not to know what's going on now. As they were part of there was an ongoing rap war, rap beef going on. They're changing diss records, dissing on each other's online. Ops were dropping, bodies were dropping and stuff like that. So eventually this was an inflection point. So she had to know what was like it at some there has to been some, there's had to been some notice. You was close enough to the action. You was close enough to it. Okay. And it's unfortunate. And this is where, you kind of and women got to understand, you can be, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you could be in a relationship with somebody and you could be sleeping next to your killer or sleeping against a murderer of someone else. So character matters. You got to vet for the character. Character. Is the person ethical? Because if they don't, and I mean, of course, love God. If they don't have those three things or have those, all three of those things, but first and foremost, the character, get up out of there. And I know it's like, oh my God, it's hard to, you have to find a way out of these kind of situations if possible. I know there are people who was able to walk away from it. And again, I'm just trying to have some understanding. I'm trying to, be sensitive, but to it. But I just wouldn't, I wouldn't put my women, I wouldn't do this, because 7, even if it's 15 years, you do 7 years, it half your life. I mean, you get, 7, now time that you lose out on time. And it's unfortunate. I just wish people just made better decisions. So maybe stayed at the hotel. If what was going to happen, again, the ride and die method, listen, do it at your own risk. Okay. Because this stuff like this happens. And then we hear this stuff like, the boyfriend was crazy. Well, you knew he was crazy. You knew what he was up. You knew what he was into, and you still went along with it, even though you didn't pull the trigger and necessarily you were implicated as far as using your phone, your cell phone being used and all that stuff like that. It'd be like, I'll be asking the question like why you use my cell phone? Why you can't, man? I mean, and she probably said that. Oh, I don't know. But when she was on the stand talking, it was like, I think she just said, well, I just thought it was all irrelevant. He's done it before or whatever and all that. I mean, was the cell phone off? Did he have, because apparently he probably didn't work. He probably 9 times out of 10, he was probably on the no plan. He was probably underemployed. Okay, so he was getting his money and means through other ways. It was part of a rap gang or whatnot. So it's just, again, it's unfortunate. You gotta make better choices. Same thing with a man. If your woman, like, listen, if something is off, get up out of there. If something is off and it's off, get up out of there. Okay, get up out of there. And it's unfortunate that he made the wrong choice. And it was wrong choices on his end, because you brought your girl into this. And I know she was in that world living and all that, but you gotta protect the women. That's one thing about it. Listen, the code, like the listen, all of the gangster movies or whatnot, they were saying, listen, women and children off limits. You keep them out of it. Okay, you keep them out of that stuff. You keep them out of it. Okay. Of course, authorities will come, they'll look for you, whatever and all that, and they'll question you, and you say, hey, listen, I had no knowledge of it. And you lawyer up, get your, and you make your decision, make your exit plans from there. Because 15 years, it's some time. She'll still be young, but it's 15 years you can't get back. Even if you do 7, it's 7 years you can't get back. Okay. again, like I wouldn't put the love of my life in situations like that. And I, as a person that, and you know, that don't do anything. I'm a registered owner, but all of what I own is for defense purposes only. It's never going to be used in the commission of a crime. It's used to defend. And that's just a separate sidebar, but I think you just got to, again, just make better. We got to make better choices, make better decisions. And hopefully if somebody watched that video, watches that, or watch that trial, hopefully, again, like of the minority, somebody will be like, if I'm in that space right now, let me go ahead and get up out of here. If I can. If you got the strength, you got the wherewithal, you got the fortitude, and you putting God first, and get up out of there. Get up out of there. So, yeah. But we are moving on to if you all found that insightful as well, make sure you all hit the comment, subscribe, put your notifications on. But we can move on to the next story. The next story we have is we got the World Cup coming to Atlanta, so we're gonna do a local story, and we're gonna bring it up right now.
Is working with Atlanta police to track down violent offenders. They're calling it Operation Lockdown. Fox 5's Denise Dillon is live for us in Atlanta with more. Denise, there's a specific reason they're doing this now.
That's right. The timing of this is in line with the World Cup. More than a dozen violent criminals have already been arrested, and they hope to have many more off the streets before visitors from around the world arrive.
Operation Lockdown is to find and remove from the streets the most violent offenders in the city of Atlanta.
The FBI is teaming up with the Atlanta Police Department, combining their resources to track down some of the city's most violent felons.
And our Violent Crimes Task Force assists the Atlanta Police Department in identifying the locations, executing warrants, doing surveillance, and all the investigative techniques that we have at the FBI.
Operation Lockdown started in March, with the FBI and APD working together to round up dangerous criminals before visitors from around the world are in town for the FIFA World Cup.
We are going to continue to pursue the most violent offenders in the city of Atlanta for the next month prior to the big events of the summer, including stuff like FIFA.
Investigators initially identified 37 dangerous felons. 13 have been captured. Among them, Kenneth Jones, who was wanted for a shooting on I-285 in December that killed a pregnant teenager's unborn child. He is charged with feticide and 3 counts of aggravated assault. As agents closed in.
We're on a night audit, you know what I'm saying? We put our profile. He looks like he just don't give a fuck. Again, people, like we were just saying in the last one, people just throwing their lives away now. But this is 2 different, separate things. But it's hard to kind of get in the mind of a killer, but he look like he just don't care. Like, he was on a no plan. Listen, going to jail, okay, is a luxury. It's for the ones that don't have a job and they don't have a job. They don't have to worry about getting up the next morning and going to a job. For the rest of us regular folk, okay, regular people, we got to get up and go to work, get a job. We need money. We need to keep the lights on. We need to keep things on, whatnot. We can't just be out here just going on a killing spree, whatnot, killing our mother, our children, the father of our kids. No. There are other ways to handle that. But anyway, I'm gonna let him finish.
On I-285 in December that killed a pregnant teenager's unborn child. He is charged with feticide and 3 counts of aggravated assault. As agents closed in, Jones hid inside an apartment with 2 children. He was eventually taken into custody. No one was hurt. And 34-year-old Aldemetrius Brown, wanted for a deadly shooting in Northwest Atlanta last August. Brown barricaded himself in an attic for several hours before giving up. The FBI says although the initial goal was 37 offenders, more will likely be added to the list.
It's not going to be 37 and done. We're going to continue to work with APD and continue to foster that relationship to relentlessly pursue the violent criminals here in Atlanta.
The FBI works with local law enforcement on operations throughout the year. Right now, with the World Cup on the horizon, this one is front and center. Reporting live in Atlanta, Denise Dillon, Fox 5 News.
Denise, thank you so much.
So, okay, we got more to share with as far as World Cup information as well, and then I give my thoughts afterwards. So we'll move to the next story.
And a global health emergency set to converge in Atlanta. One of the teams slated to play in Atlanta is the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is the epicenter of the current Ebola outbreak.
Fox 5's Kevin Stewart joins us live with what he's found on how officials are preparing, Kevin.
Guys, the DRC's team was set to have a big send-off there, but that has since been canceled. We understand FIFA and the Trump administration are working to get the team here safely. The squad has been told to isolate in a bubble while training in Belgium before coming here to the United States.
Moves it out wide. Now the cross out front. The Democratic Republic of Congo will make its second trip to the World Cup with at least one match in Atlanta on June 27th. A nation experiencing an Ebola outbreak that has sickened more than 700 and led to the death of more than 170 people.
The Ebola virus was first discovered in 1976 by Professor Muyembe. In an outbreak in northern DRC.
Dr. Barney Graham at Morehouse School of Medicine has studied Ebola for years.
I conducted one of the first Ebola vaccine trials back about 23 years ago.
Because members of the soccer team are now in Europe and won't return to the DRC before the tournament, Dr. Graham is firm in believing the CDC travel restrictions will focus on fans planning to travel from the DRC. And right now, any non-citizen who has been in the DRC within the past 21 days will be denied entry into the U.S.
Most of the time when someone's exposed, you rarely if ever see the infection express itself beyond 21 days.
Before the team arrives in Atlanta, it will train in Houston before its first game there on the 17th. In a statement, FIFA says FIFA continues to work to ensure a safe and secure tournament as the health of all individuals involved remains FIFA's priority. In a Friday news conference, the CDC reiterated its efforts to help detect, contain, and treat the disease in Central Africa. And Americans who visited the area will be allowed back home, but must travel through Dulles Airport in Washington for screening.
Would you be part of an overall broader layered public health approach, starting with exit screening, airline illness reporting?
Does not spread easily like COVID. Again, authorities believe we're going to be okay, even as the outbreak is spreading rapidly in Central Africa. The travel restrictions are in place for roughly a month. At the live desk, Kevin Stewart, Fox 5 News.
That's good news. Kevin, thanks.
All right. So I did a little bit of digging on this. It's crazy that we got the Hunter virus going on, and then now we got Ebola going on another stream. I thought we saw for Ebola. Apparently not. So just to give a quick outbreak, it says the Democratic Republic of Congo national soccer team has been banned from entering the United States for 21 days due to severe Ebola outbreak in the country, with all squads and staff and members required to remain in a training bubble in Belgium until travel is cleared. The U.S. CDC and the White House World Cup Task Force has imposed strict entry restrictions. Non-U.S. passport holders who have been in the DR, Uganda, South Sudan in the past 21 days are prohibited from entering the United States. Bocolo, it's a strain of Ebola. I don't know, that maybe the booty scratcher virus, that strain of it. Sorry. But here's the thing. So my thoughts on it is this, on both things. So they trying to see, Atlanta's trying to clean up the streets. They trying to get rid of the criminals, or trying to put the criminals on timeout. Then you're trying to put the virus on timeout. Okay. So Operation Lockdown was a shoddy name. Could have named it something different. Okay. President Trump got better operational names than this. But yeah, I mean, you gotta take precautions, you gotta take necessary precautions, because listen, ain't nobody trying to be inside I mean, you're gonna be inside watching the World Cup, but people gonna be out and about watching the World Cup because there are cities around the country that's gonna be hosting these teams, okay, including the United States as well. Okay, so please, if you are sick and you plan on traveling, please isolate yourself. Stay where you at. Okay, if you in these countries, like I will say it again. If you are a non-U.S. passport holder who've been in the DR, Congo, Uganda, South Sudan in the past 21 days, don't even try to enter. Okay, don't try to enter. Okay, there's already been suspected 750 to 600 suspected cases and 177 to 139 suspected deaths in the DR, prompting the World Health Organization to raise the level to very high. Okay, it's very serious. Okay, because we've all went through COVID. Okay, that was just 6 years ago. Okay, so we cannot, because that team is scheduled to arrive in Houston, Texas, between June 10th and the 11th for the World Cup. The first match is against Portugal in Houston on June 17th, followed by Colombia and Guadeloupe. I can't pronounce that. And Uzbekistan in Atlanta. Friendlies against Denmark and Chile are being held in Belgium and Spain before the U.S. trip. Okay, so the Texas Health Administration is working with the CDC, yada, 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 to make sure and safeties of the spectators and the residents and stuff like that. So again, listen, people of the Congo, for the team, in summary, the World Cup, DR's Congo World Cup preparations have been disrupted by a dangerous Ebola outbreak, forcing the team for a 21-day isolation and relocation to Belgium. This is a precaution to protect public health and ensure the team can participate in the tournament without violating U.S. entry restrictions. All right, let's see. Whew. Now, as far as I think the FBI working with local law enforcement as well, because it's a big event, and I expect that. But they haven't arrested all the criminals, so hopefully they got 37. They say they got 37. That's probably gonna be more, and so hopefully that they get this contained so everybody can have the sentence. It's still probably gonna be some mess anyway, but you can only be as safe as you can be, right? But anyway, enough about that. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all hit a like, share, comment, rate, and view. We're gonna move on to another important story.
Yesterday at the age of 41. Take a look at this X post there on your screen coming from TMZ Sports. Kyle Busch's number 8 will be reserved until his son's NASCAR career. That news just coming today following this devastating news, this fresh tragedy for the NASCAR community and the sports world as a whole. This sudden passing of Kyle Busch at just 41 years old has really sent shockwaves everywhere, and the chilling details are emerging from the 911 call. Kyle Busch's medical emergency has been partially revealed by 911 audio that was obtained by TMZ Sports, with the caller saying the NASCAR superstar was struggling to breathe, overheating and coughing up blood before the medics were there to help. So joining us to look more in depth at this is TMZ's Anakin Shed. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm gonna pause it. Prayers up to Kyle Busch and his family. I am not a NASCAR enthusiast. I want to attend this NASCAR event. Heard that fun. Heard that loud. Very fun. And the Indy 500 as well. I listened to the 911 audio. It is disturbing. It is disturbing, to say the least. It's not we all don't know how we gonna get up out of here. We would like to not suffer while we're on our way out of here, but I'm gonna let them share more on it or whatnot. But I just figure out like there may be some NASCAR love. I mean, the NASCAR community is very huge, has a huge following as well. Again, I don't necessarily I know names, but again, I don't follow the sport particularly, but I know names, like recognize like names like Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson. So that's just a little something for me.
So first things first, let's just talk about what exactly did we hear in this 911 call?
Yeah, so this 911 call came from, we don't know who exactly, but we do know that it was probably someone from the facility where Kyle Busch was out doing his racing simulator. And essentially what we do know is that at some point while he was in that racing simulator, we don't know exactly why, and I feel like a lot of this is going to be tied to when we actually get the actual medical result of what ended up ending his life. But he was in a racing simulator. He started feeling warm, started feeling short of breath, hard to breathe, blood started coming out of his nose, his mouth. He was found collapsed on the floor of the bathroom, still conscious. Someone from the facility where he was doing this simulator found him and promptly called 911. In that 911 call, they described those symptoms to the dispatcher. They also said that the ambulance should turn off the sirens as they were approaching the area to pick him up, naturally because they didn't want this to become a big scene. And then subsequently afterward, we got that notification that he had suffered a severe illness and would not be able to participate in the races coming this weekend. And then a few hours later, unfortunately, we got the news that he had passed away at the age of 41.
You know, as more details emerge, you have to wonder how rapidly did his condition deteriorate from, you know, running those laps in the simulator to just collapsing in the restroom?
Yeah, I mean, we do know that there was an incident in May 10th when he was racing, and towards the end of that race, he actually went on the comms and told his team, hey, I'm going to need a doctor once I'm done with this race. Do we know for sure that this incident is tied to the eventual severe illness, as they say? We don't know for sure if there's a connection there, but given the short timeline, I would say we should be quite confident that there is a correlation between those. And that May 10th incident could be a good indicator on what eventually Kyle Busch succumbed to within 11 days of that moment. But we do know that he did race again in the 15th and in the 17th, despite that call on the 10th that he made towards the end of the race on the 10th. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happened. And I mean, yeah, 11 short days. They said it was a sinus infection. A sinus infection doesn't do that. So it must have been a pretty rapid progression of whatever it was that ended up taking his life.
Certainly, and you know, of course, that big news coming out today from Richard Childress Racing announcing they're suspending the number 8 car, opting to run the number 33 with Austin Hill. They stated that number 8 car is officially reserved and ready for Kyle's son, Braxton. That statement wasn't just about retiring a number. That was a promise to Kyle's 11-year-old son who just had a birthday, Braxton, that number 8 is going to be waiting for him when he is ready to go. I mean, what does a commitment like that say about that profound impact that Kyle's on the racing industry in just a few short years, and how the Busch family is receiving this news?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. It's a testament to Kyle Busch being one of, if not the greatest NASCAR driver in the history of the competition or of the league. I mean, this is someone who had such a huge impact on NASCAR, who, I mean, I was literally talking with Michael Babcock, the head of TMZ Sports, getting more of a picture of this guy. And I mean, Babcock had almost no doubt in his mind that Busch would be remembered as one of, if not the greatest racer in NASCAR of all time. And I think it shows too, like even despite that incident on May 10th where he said, hey, I'm going to need a doctor after this, he still went out and raced again on the 15th, on the 17th, even when seemingly his final moments, he was in a racing simulator. So this was something that he lived, breathed doing. Like there was just no other thing for him to be doing. He's obviously going to be remembered for his very aggressive racing style. He has nicknames that are tied to that, although I can't remember them off the top of my head. And I mean, his kids are obviously young, but not young enough to not remember this this horribly tragic moment. So I feel for the family, but it is certainly a testament to his impact on the league and the ultimate legacy he's leaving behind.
Rowdy, that was it. And yeah, Busch won 234 races across NASCAR's 3 national series, more than any driver in history. So he is certainly leaving behind a legacy in the NASCAR industry.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it here on Live Now from Fox.
So I was doing some digging on Kyle Busch's racing legacy because I know this is the last, and it's unfortunate, the last thing he's going to be remembered is this, but I mean, he really truly lived and breathed what he did up until the day he died. And you can't ask for anything else. I mean, I think man was driven by his purpose. He was on his mission, his purpose, and he truly lived out his dreams and whatnot. And he made it enough that, even to say that, to tell his son that, hey, you're going to one day don the number 8 number and carry on the Busch racing legacy, family racing legacy as well. So you got to think, things like LeBron James, Tom Brady, it's a lot of them. But so a little bit what I've discovered real quick for anybody, if there's any racing enthusiasts, car enthusiasts in here, because I want to highlight his accomplishments in his career. He was a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, the driver across NASCAR's top 3 national series with a combined 234 victories, which was, I think the reporter has said. A little bit about him: he began racing at a young age in go-karts, in legend cars, winning over 65 races and 2 track championships at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Bull Ring, before moving to late modern racing in 2001, where he secured 10 victories that season. He made his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut at 16, quickly established himself as a rising talent. You can get in this pretty young. It's almost like tennis and golf. Busch progressed through the ACRCA and the Xfinity Series before joining NASCAR's Cup Series full-time in 2005 with the Hendricks Motorsports. So he was the first driver to win on an active Cup Series, 2018. Longest streak of consecutive series with at least one Cup Series win, 19, from 2005 to 2023. Notable victories is the Southern 500, Brickyard, Coca-Cola 600, Monster Energy, NASCAR All-Star Race, Snowball Derby, 2009, 2017, the Slinger Nationals, and Daytona 500 pole runner. This is his name. I mean, it's pretty. His nickname was Rowdy. That's one of the nicknames. It's pretty lefty here. I don't want to, hold y'all to it. You all can check it out if you would like. But I mean, he's gonna be missed in the racing world, and I know racing does transcend the sports, as and his other contemporaries as well, who are fans of the sport that follow it more closely than I do. If anybody don't know, I'm more of a NFL. I root for the Patriots, Red Sox right now because they're trash. Sidebar, the Celtics, and Alabama Roll Tide. So, but either which way, all those sports. I mean, these sports run into each other's because they host the events. They can be, these stadiums and places can be used for places for them to race and stuff like that. But again, prayers up to Kyle Busch and his family. Maybe his memory be a blessing. And tough one. Moving on. Make sure you hit the like button, rate, comment, subscribe, and review. We got quite a few. We got to turn our attention over to Los Angeles. Okay, there is a situation going on over there. There's a leak. Okay.
Is in Garden Grove, where a chemical tank is at risk of exploding. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Pat Harvey. SkyCal is over the tank right now. Firefighters continuing to spray it with water, trying to keep it cool. They've been doing this since yesterday at this time when the leak first began. 40,000 people in this area have been forced to evacuate, and that includes parts of Cypress, Stanton, Anaheim, Buena Park, and Westminster. CBS LA's Michelle Gili begins our team coverage with more on what's leaking and why firefighters are so concerned. Michelle.
And Pat, I just got an update on the numbers. 44,000 people are now under evacuation orders. One official here at the command post told me that if this tank explodes, it's going to be like a bomb going off. And I've talked to plenty of people today who say that this is a very real possibility if they cannot stop the leak. The other scenario would be a major catastrophic leak of the hazardous materials in this tank.
This is as bad as I've ever seen. This is real. Don't mess around.
Emergency responders in Orange County are giving orders to 40,000 people in several cities, including Garden Grove, Stanton, Westminster, Cypress, Anaheim, and Buena Park, to get out, to evacuate neighborhoods and businesses, saying there are two possible scenarios. The compromised hazardous materials tank could spring a major leak, or
The other option that was told to us is that it blows up. That was what we were handed, a leaking tank or a tank that blows up. That's why we extended the evacuation today in an overabundance of caution. This is highly volatile, it's highly toxic, and it's highly flammable.
The chemical leak was discovered Thursday at GKN, an aerospace manufacturing facility in Garden Grove. Fire officials say the cooling system failed on a tank containing toxic epoxy used for windscreens on fighter jets. An initial evacuation order was lifted, but officials say on Friday they expanded it to a larger area as the tank continued to heat up and threaten the surrounding community.
I've been in the fire service for 32 years, and it is the most significantly dangerous event I've ever been part of.
And when you have limited short-term exposure, meaning maybe you inhaled some of the vapor, it can cause significant irritation in the lungs, the nasal passages, and it can also cause nausea. It can also cause dizziness.
At an afternoon briefing, authorities say that the air quality registered within normal limits. Contractors for the Environmental Protection Agency are monitoring the air. They set up devices in the parking lot of Rancho Alamitos High School that was closed for the day. As experts across the country work with local hazmat teams to try and mitigate the danger, it's a wait-and-see game.
The other concern we have is it's extremely flammable and in its current state, very reactive and can cause that explosion, which is why we have that hard perimeter in place.
So when can people go back home? Well, I asked that question, and very simply, the officials say we do not know. Here's another thing, Pat, that I just found out. There's a strawberry festival, a very, very popular event going on right now in Garden Grove. Tomorrow there was a parade planned and a 5K. Well, that's now been canceled. We're live in Los Alamitos. I'm Michelle Gili. Back to you.
Serious repercussions. Thank you so much, Michelle. And assignment editor Mike Rogers is monitoring this leak at the desk. Mike, you spoke with a chemist about whatever it is that's leaking.
Yeah, Pat, it's this chemical, as Michelle mentioned, that is used to make windscreens for airplanes. It's an epoxy type of chemical that in small doses and once it is fully used is not toxic at all. But in the state that it is in right now is very concerning to fire officials, as you just heard there in Michelle's piece. Live pictures now from the helicopter. They've been doing this issue where they've been spraying water on it. That is to keep it cool. Now, I learned from the chemist today that this material has a boiling point that is less than water, and it has properties in it that causes it to heat itself. That is why, obviously, the explosion is of a concern, but even if it just leaks out, that is also of concern, because since it's got those self-heating properties, it can heat up and cause a runaway effect is what it's called. That's why you see them dousing this water on there to keep the area as cool as possible.
In an uncontrolled environment with a leak, you can potentially have a lot in the atmosphere, and any flash or spark or even temperature can cause what is known as a runaway reaction, where when you begin the polymerization, it's exothermic, meaning that the reaction releases heat. And I think you can start to see the problem there. Heat initiates the reaction, but the reaction releases heat. And so you get this, what we call runaway, where it's uncontrolled. and it can lead to, yes, fires, explosions, where pressure really builds up very quickly.
Yeah, and so that's the issue here. As we go back out live to the helicopter now, you can see this. Even if it were to leak out, there is still the chance that it explodes. And as Michelle pointed out, there are tanks next to it that also have combustible materials. So really a tough situation here and unknown exactly when this is all going to happen. You heard Michelle say there's not a lot of options here for firefighters or for the crews that are handling all of this. Hopefully somebody comes up with some kind of solution that will mitigate this issue. But as of the moment, we're waiting for it to either leak out on its own and deal with whatever problems that entails, or explode potentially, which is also, of course, very concerning, Pat.
No, very daunting.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right. So we got to follow up with this as well.
Good evening. I'm Susan Hirasuna. Tonight, a toxic time bomb in Orange County. Parts of Garden Grove and Stanton under evacuation orders. Firefighters working through the night trying to keep a 7,000-gallon chemical tank from rupturing or worse, exploding. And tonight, families forced from their homes are wondering when or if they'll be able to go back. Fox 11's Andres Gutierrez is live at the Incident Command Post in Cyprus with more tonight. Andres?
Good evening, Susan. This is indeed
So I would say this, because I was just looking at some stuff, looking at some articles more on this as well, because there's more videos on this as well. I would say with all the shit that's going on in California with the government and with the fight with the governor and the gas companies and whatnot, and the Palisades fires and all the other stuff that's going on, it's just safe to say that the citizens of Orange County and even the citizens of California, it's best to take your own life in your own hands. Put your own life in your hands, not in the hands of government. Because now there's further people now lawsuits emerging. Okay. They haven't now, for the article I just read, they said that they believe, they said the threat, this was as of 3 hours ago, the threat of the major explosion at the Southern California aerospace facilities off the table after firefighters perform an all-night operation Sunday to test the pressure inside the cracked tank in Orange County. Officials told CBS News as more than 50,000 people remain on evacuation orders. Now, I think the evacuation area has shrunk, not that much, but it's shrunk enough. But again, it's already, I don't know why it's in a residential area. Okay. I don't understand that. And I think somebody who was delivering Uber, I think in this video, this person said something about it. But again, get out of there. Take your own, put your safety in your own hands. Don't rely on especially over there in California. No. I don't care. No. Okay. No. And people are going to probably move back because they be like, I ain't got nowhere else to move, got nowhere else to live. But the ones that can move, get away from that, because even if they somehow get it contained, it's the the mitigation risk factors, like the potential of it happening again, and whatever's leaked out, whatever's out, because somebody was already talking about they skin and the irritation and stuff like that. But that's just a little nugget for me to give to y'all. Y'all can, again, exercise, use your discretion, use your best discretion.
a round-the-clock operation. The crews out here are monitoring that tank minute by minute, and just a few miles away from here, those evacuated neighborhoods remain empty, quiet, and dark tonight. In parts of Stanton, signs of this emergency are everywhere. Roads leading into the evacuation zone blocked. Shopping centers that should be packed on a holiday weekend empty. The evacuation order doesn't cover all of Stanton. Inside the zone, people were told to get out fast. When the sheriff's deputies knocked on your door, how dire did their tones sound when they were telling you to leave?
Urgent. They wanted to make sure that we understood that it was imperative that we leave.
Susie Higginbottom says deputies went door to door Friday afternoon at her apartment complex. She had minutes to grab what she could. Today, she returned for medication, clothes, and a few essentials. Her daughter Shelley's still trying to process it all.
I was kind of scary for me because I never done anything like this before.
In Huntington Beach, another shelter filled with families waiting for answers. Volunteers handing out donated food, trying to bring some comfort.
This time is when the community come together and support one another in the time of needs.
Palaviv Bajaj lives less than a mile away from the plant in Garden Grove.
I'm trying to get more face masks for myself, and again, trying to see if it can be indoors, but just praying everything works out okay, and hoping in the next 12 to 24 hours we'll be in a better situation, be able to go back home.
Perfect. At the center of this emergency, a 7,000-gallon tank holding a highly flammable chemical. Fire officials say the internal temperature inside the tank continues to rise. Firefighters have been using drones to track temperatures and have even sent crews back into the hazard zone overnight, trying to stop the tank from failing.
We did put them back in harm's way last night. Letting this thing just fail and blow up is unacceptable to us.
All right, now here is an aerial view from Sky Fox of those tanks. Tonight, fire officials are still trying to find what they call a third option, and until then, the evacuation orders remain in place, Susan.
So I'm gonna pause right there. Just want to clear something up. Okay. What I was trying to get out, the thought was, so the evacuation orders remain in place for an undisclosed amount of time. The threat of the toxic chemical, reading from the same article, leaking out of the tank is still possible. That's what I was trying to, you all probably figure out. That's how I was trying to communicate. So it's still a potential. It says we're trying to confirm that there's still a liquid form of this chemical that could potentially leak out. Okay, so it remains a flammable material in the tank. It still has the potential to burn and ignite. So it's, as well as it may be contained, it may be eliminated. The worst case scenario may be eliminated, but there's still the possibility of risk. Okay, so take that as you may. I won't be going back. I will be gone. I probably won't return until after the summer. If I was living over there, I won't be. I just say I see y'all after the summer. Okay. But anyway, let them finish up here.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one for us. We'll look forward to with an upcoming update. Thank you. The fumes being emitted as crews work to gain control of the situation is raising health concerns for some in the area. People are already lawyering up as they look ahead. Fox 11's Nick Garcia reports.
As the failing chemical storage tank continues to spew fumes from the and highly flammable methyl methacrylate, or MMA, people are growing concerned about the health risks. Orange County's health officer addressed that Saturday afternoon on social media.
MMA does have a very strong fruity odor, and smelling it doesn't mean that it will have health impacts. We actually do know that when you smell it, you don't typically have symptoms.
Fox 11 spoke with a man who works for DoorDash. He says he spent the past 2 days delivering food in the Garden Grove area with his 9-year-old son, who started experiencing symptoms first.
He's like, my chest, and like, I'm feeling a little dizzy. And I said, okay. And then like literally an hour later, I think it was like 4 o'clock, I started feeling weird. Like I started getting a little dizzy.
He's being represented by attorney Edward Jaslewicki, who has a background in chemistry and has at least 12 other clients here.
The potential cause of accident is a vascular, which means that all the people that are affected would sue the company, and anybody that has to do with it, maybe a valve manufacturer, whatever caused the leak.
With a growing evacuation zone, people should get as far as possible from the tank at GKN Aerospace on Western Avenue. Here at one of several evacuation shelters that have been opened, this one, Freedom Hall in Fountain Valley. They've had to open so many because they keep filling up, but still about 15% of those evacuated are refusing to leave home. Saturday afternoon, Congressman Derek Tran, who represents the Garden Grove area, said anyone experiencing symptoms should seek medical attention.
The county also has a hotline number that we're going to put up, that you guys can get out there with your outlets, that these residents know that they can call and report that they're not feeling well. That way we can start tracking and monitoring all of this.
He says the top concern will continue to be the health and safety of the public and first responders. Nick Garcia, Fox 11 News.
Firefighters are battling a massive pallet yard fire burning in Pomona tonight. The flames sparked a third alarm response as crews work to keep the fire from spreading through the commercial area on East 9th Street. Video from the Citizens app shows the smoke billowing high into the air. It started just before 7 p.m. tonight.
There you have it. There's a lot going on over there right now. Fires, stuff on fire, trying to, mitigate. But public safety is the number one concern. It's a top priority. It's a top priority because when you got health concerns, again, we've already talked about. We got to eliminate the criminal element ahead of the World Cup. We got to mitigate the Ebola. Okay. We have, the hunter, we gotta mitigate it. We gotta mitigate that as well. Okay. And also we gotta get this chemical leak at the Garden Grove under control. Again, there are some they're the ones that are gonna break, the ones that are saying they're brave. They're brave. It's almost like when like here in the South, we deal with hurricanes, right? We have bad storm season. Like it's going to be storm season pretty soon where we get tornadoes and thunderstorms. So maybe there's some ones that just can't afford to evacuate. They just have to ride it out. And they just have to take every precaution to ensure, again, like take your life, take your safety and put it in your own hands. Okay. But if you can move or get out of there for a temporary period of time, please do so. Because like we had the hurricane that came last, I think it was down in Florida. They flipped through Tampa, and some people, they stayed, they rolled it out. Now some people was okay, others wasn't. So again, everyone out there out in Los Angeles or in Orange County, if you listen to the night audit, okay, we're gonna try to stay on top of this story, but please be safe. Get yourself to safety, get yourself to high ground, and hopefully that they can mitigate their risk completely. And then we start the lawsuits and all that stuff like that. Everybody say, well, my eye about to fall out, my ears are bleeding, my nose is bleeding, then y'all can go handle that. But anyway, make sure you hit a like, comment, subscribe, put notifications. We got to move on to some bigger news coming out of Washington. Apparently the crazies are happening. Apparently people just cannot get it together over there. Okay. But there was some stuff that went on at Washington. Take a look. Okay. This NBC reporter, and we're going to cover it from a lot of different angles as well. This White House shooting, So I found this out on X. I was here in the Mobile Command Center studio, and I was uploading some videos when I was doing a little bit of work. I was working, and I checked X. I was like, White House shooting? What the hell's going on? And I heard watching the different feeds. I said it was about 30 minutes. So it happened around like 6:30. So this happened 24 hours ago, right? And I was just like, what is going on? What is happening? And then, I know that I kind of buried the lead on that. I'm pretty sure y'all know that the suspect has been identified, but we're going to still cover that. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on? What is happening? So we going to cover this from different angles. We got CNN, we got Fox News, and we're going to get it, we're going to share what a CNN reporter, we're going to describe their moments when the shots rang out at the White House. Let's take a listen.
This morning with the man who was killed after shooting near the White House. The bystander was also shot and is in critical condition. An eyewitness captured the sounds of the rapid fired gunshots there. The Secret Service says it happened near a security checkpoint. The president was at the residence. The White House was immediately placed on lockdown and officers were mobilized. The tense moment of journalists on White House grounds reacting to the threat was also caught on camera.
That President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
That was ABC's Selena Wang. Now, the correspondent was recording a social media video when she heard those shots. She ducked for cover, as you saw.
Julia Binbrook is standing by. Julia, you were there. You had just finished doing a live shot for us when all of this happened. Walk everyone through what you heard, what you saw, and what we're hearing about President Trump, who is there at the White House tonight.
That's right. President Donald Trump was here at the White House as this happened. Secret Service has confirmed he was not impacted by this incident in any way. But as we were standing here, I was speaking with you, Jessica, and had just walked toward the press briefing room, just had opened the door when I heard what appeared to be gunshots, dozens of gunshots. It was this repeated noise, so much so that we thought it might be fireworks at first. And that's when my photographer, Joe Wagner, was out here on the lawn. This is his video right here. As you can see, the reporters who were out here still doing their hits, they were told to move, to get inside quickly, and everyone took off running. You can see Secret Service trying to make sure that the area is secured there on the north lawn. And then as we got inside, we were then on lockdown for about 40 minutes and just a lot of questions about what had taken place. And a very scary moment. We now know that the suspect had taken out a weapon and was shot by Secret Service. We also know that a bystander was shot. It is unclear if those shots came from the suspect or in return fire.
Let's go to CNN's Brian Todd live in D.C. Brian, good morning to you. What have you learned about this gunman and what happened?
Well, Victor, we have new information on the suspect from our colleagues Josh Campbell, Holmes Lybrand, and Evan Perez. They cite 3 law enforcement sources as saying that the suspect is identified as 21-year-old Nasire Best. According to one source, Best did have previous encounters with the Secret Service. Our source is telling us that in June of 2025, he blocked an entry lane at the White House. At that moment, he apparently claimed that he was God, and after that, he was admitted for psychiatric evaluation. A month later, in July of 2025, he was arrested after attempting to enter a White House complex driveway, and the judge ordered him to stay away from the...
You know, he should have been arrested after the first one. Claimed to be God. Should have been admitted right there. Let's continue.
White House grounds. According to our sources, he had also made several statements on social media, including at least one with stating some kind of an intent to harm President Trump. And speaking of President Trump, he did respond to this shooting in a post on Truth Social. Here's part of it. He said, quote, "This event is 1 month removed from the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting and goes to show how important it is for all future presidents to get what will be the most safe and secure space of its kind ever built in Washington, D.C. The national security of our country demands it," end quote, from the president. He's referring, of course, to his construction of the White House ballroom there, which he has emphasized after the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting. That's the best place he believes to have that event. He believes that would be more secure at the White House. Now, taking you down through the scene here, we were here late last night. When the police were combing through the scene, our photojournalist Christine Lean is going to zoom past me down to the scene right there, straight down the block. We're at 18th and Pennsylvania Avenue. The shooting was right down there at 17th and Pennsylvania Avenue. We still have a police presence. We still have streets cordoned off as a result of the shooting. Now, what I can tell you also is that right to the left of that shooting scene there is Lafayette Park. It's to the left and about a half a block down, Lafayette Square Park. But Lafayette Square Park has been closed off, fenced off because of construction for several months now. Because of that, you cannot enter Lafayette Park and you can't go in front of the White House as you might usually do on Pennsylvania Avenue. There is an open street there where you can go in front of the White House. But I say all that to tell you that the gunman got about as close as he could to the White House at that point, at that checkpoint there where the gunfire occurred. As Victor mentioned, the bystander was struck by gunfire. It is unclear whether the bystander was hit by the gunman's initial shots or whether the gunman, the ensuing gunfire was what injured the bystander. The bystander is in critical condition. We hope to get some more information on their condition in the coming hours. Victor?
Brian Todd, live from Washington for us this morning. Brian, thank you for that. We're joined now by CNN law enforcement analyst Jonathan Wackrow, former Secret Service agent and corporate security consultant. Jonathan, good to see you this morning. First, let's just start broadly with your assessment of how Secret Service handled this threat.
Well, good morning, Victor. And what we witnessed yesterday was this immediate action situation by the uniformed division officers of the Secret Service. These are the uniformed police that most often operate right around the White House complex. The situation that they were faced yesterday is something that they train for continuously. Once an armed individual approaches the White House complex or any one of these checkpoints, right where Brian was standing, and is actively firing or presents as an immediate threat, officers have milliseconds, not minutes, to identify the threat, engage, and then neutralize it. Why? Because just look at the area and the high concentration of public that would be around that area at all times. The White House, I spent 5 years there. The White House remains one of the most symbolically and operationally significant targets in the world. And what we see constantly are people showing up day in and day out, engaging with uniformed division officers who may have they may be some sort of ideologically motivated actor, someone who has mental challenges, or someone that wants notoriety. So when I was at the White House, we constantly knew that this was one of the most high-risk locations in the world. The actions that were taken yesterday by the Secret Service were immediate, and they prevented more loss of life in the area. So from my perspective and what I analyzed, they did a great job yesterday in identifying and neutralizing this threat before more harm could be caused.
Brian just shared the new reporting about the details about this suspected gunman, Nasire Best, according to several sources. Last July, he was there at the White House, was blocking an entry lane at the White House, claimed he was God. And then returned to the complex driveway. A judge demanded that he stay away from the White House. How common is it for this type of escalation after those earlier incidents?
Well, Victor, this is a very typical profile of somebody who shows up as what we would refer to as a gate caller in the past at the White House. The suspect really his behavior really reflects this clear escalation pattern, which we see in protective intelligence investigations. What I mean by that is those prior encounters demonstrated what we refer to as persistent boundary testing behavior, in which Secret Service see that as a warning indicator in a threat assessment matrix. Those repeated approaches to the White House, in what we saw in what we hear from the reporting, is that his behavior was increasingly delusional and grievance-driven. That makes a very volatile individual, in somebody who's moving down the pathway to violence very quickly, moving from what we would report as fixation initially into this operational action that we saw yesterday that was addressed by the Secret Service.
I was doing some digging on like White House incidents, like on the grounds, off the grounds. I was trying to do it more recently because it kind of goes back. It dates pretty far back to the 1800s, and we don't really want to go there. So we're gonna go. We're in 2026, so we're gonna go through. So, because number one, many of the intruders oftentimes are pranksters or harmless people with mental illnesses. However, some have entered with the intentions of harming people. Again, despite the security measures such as a fence, there has been some people who have still managed to gain unauthorized access to the White House. All right, so we're gonna go through into the White House. So most recently of 2020, no, I don't think that's not really on the grounds. We'll just say on the grounds because it seems like it's more common on the grounds. And I'm pretty sure they probably have a lot of fence callers, but there have been situations where people have managed to breach. So April 18th, 2023, a toddler squeezed through the fence grounds, was carried back to his parents by a Secret Service officer. November 17th, 2017, a Victor, Marins? He said, I think he says he jumped the bike rack, was in the process of climbing over the first security fence and was captured and arrested by Secret Service officers. Okay. Trying to do something more like in the last 2-3 years, whatnot. I mean, it kind of goes back, but non-trespassing incidents. So 2020, August 10th, 2020, 51-year-old man from Maryland was shot by a Secret Service officer near 17th and Pennsylvania Avenue, a few blocks away from the White House, after telling the officer he was armed and ran towards the officer with his hand in his pocket. The suspect, who was unarmed, was arrested and taken to the hospital where he was charged with assault. The president was holding a press conference or press briefings for the COVID-19 pandemic and was temporarily escorted from the briefing room by the Secret Service. May 22nd of 2023, his name is Cy, a 19-year-old man from Chesterfield, Missouri, allegedly drove a U-Haul truck into a security fence. According to investigators, the man said he wanted to kill the president and praised Adolf Hitler after his arrest. A Nazi flag was recovered from his van. March 9th of last year, the Secret Service engaged Andrew Dawson, a 27-year-old man from North Manchester, Indiana, in a shootout close to the Eisenhower Executive Office building after they spotted him walking near 17th Street Northwest. Dawson had a bolo for being armed and suicidal, a BB gun, and a cell phone sharp gun was found on his person. A 22 caliber rifle, a magazine, and 23 rounds of ammunition were found in Dawson's car. He was arrested on charges of carrying a pistol without a license, possession and unregistered firearm, possession of unregistered ammunition, and carrying a rifle. So, yeah. Now, the people in the comment section, when I watched that video, they was all like, well, you know, he's trying to get his ballroom. He's trying to get his ballroom, so on and so forth, da. The fact of the matter is that these incidents happen, but it seemed to be happening more frequently. Okay, ballroom or no ballroom. I don't know what. I'm pretty sure it's a felony. Got to be, maybe depending on the offense or whatnot. But no, I don't think anyone is social. I don't think the president is social engineering this to get a ballroom. Now, I did read an article that said that the Justice Department has asked the federal judge to lift an injunction, which I don't have a video on that right now, but that's just something separate. But like, unless they expand the perimeter out, but then people will be saying something like they're too restrictive. I mean, you got to protect the people because it becomes a public safety issue as well. So I just say that I didn't really hear a lot of this under Biden, and I'm pretty sure it was on Obama, but everybody got somebody out there with mental issues or whatnot got something against the president. Now, what if you like the president? I always just say respect the office, you know, because people have their own motives, you know what I mean? Like they had, apparently this person had his own motives. And that's another thing that CNN didn't show, which I will get to in this next clip here.
School says they heard gunshots fired near the White House, and reporters there are currently on lockdown. One correspondent says they heard multiple shots and Secret Service telling them to get down. Agency has been cleared by Secret Service. We are currently monitoring the situation. We'll let you know when we get more information. Kevin, I want to take it back to you, D.C. resident here. Yep. It feels like these things just keep happening.
Yeah, and especially when you consider how close to a major thoroughfare the White House is. If you go down...
Sidebar, first of all, this man's hairline is on point. Now, I mean, he don't have a beard and stash, so I'm a little weary of that, but his hairline is on point. You know what I'm saying? I might need to call his barber, you know what I'm saying? He could beef up my hairline. Anyway.
17th, which is just on the other side of the Eisenhower Executive Office building. There's tons of traffic over there. You could easily hear gunshots, and it's also accessible. You can walk up and down the promenade right along Pennsylvania, and so unless it's blocked off, sometimes they block it off. But things like this do happen. The electromagnetic locks engage immediately, and when they say you are locked in that building. You can pull, push, you cannot get out. If you're on the North Lawn when something like this happens, and that's happened to me before, Secret Service comes out literally out of everywhere. The guard shack, the bushes, and they escort you all the way back into the building, and then they clear the lawn. But in this circumstance, we've seen this happen, sadly, too often. Hopefully it's nothing, but obviously they're watching it very carefully, and as we get more, we'll pass that along.
Alicia, these reporters, obviously a lot of presence there today due to this Iran potential peace deal. So a lot of activity, a lot of interest, of course, in what's going on in D.C. and in the White House. What do you make of the press? Again, we just had the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I mean, this feels, to Kevin's point, maybe this is not unheard of, but it feels like this is a disturbing pattern if this is indeed something horrific.
Probably a lot of the correspondents who were on lockdown were also on lockdown inside the ballroom the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So they're dealing with this yet again. Secret Service, thank goodness, on it. But once again, here we are once again, and that's the problem. Again, like you mentioned, we don't know if this is a shooting that happened outside the White House that has nothing to do with the White House. The proximity makes it very concerning and makes us all wonder, why are we talking about this again? Why is this happening again? Why this president possibly, again, dealing with these fears of gunshots revolving around this administration is not right, and it hurts, like, to see.
Yeah, so I just had a thought. The ball, because again, the White House, now they did find that somehow cocaine found its way in the White House under the Biden administration. Separate sidebar or whatnot. That's supposed to be the most secure place, and nobody know where it came from. Nobody. But it's starting to kind of. Like I said in my last segment, I was trying to say is that hopefully it's just its own thing. Like I want to say that. Use my own independent thinking to say these are two separate incidents, and unfortunately it comes like a month apart from each other. So it's like the White House Correspondents' Dinner and then this. Now, of course, the White House is a little bit more secured enough that you just can't just run up on it. No matter what, you can't run up on the White House. You can protest pride. People try or whatever and all that, and unfortunately they meet their demise or whatnot. Hopefully, again, I just want to make sure this is an isolated event from the ballroom. I know that people in the CNN side, the comments were saying, well, he needs to get, he's trying to get his ballroom, trying to get in the ballroom. Like, come on. Like, even if he had the ballroom, somebody still would have the motive to carry out whatever it is going to carry out. Okay. So, like, this don't have anything to do with that. I know he said that. I know people saying that this doesn't have anything to do with that. I mean, because this could have taken place outside of Mar-a-Lago, which incidents have happened. Okay. So one thing doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, it's been more plots to do these things and towards this president that I have seen than the others or whatnot. And I'm not saying the other presidents that have threats and there hasn't been foolishness, because this things happen, but these it seemed to be happening quite frequently. But I'm gonna let people continue.
This happening? Are you seeing something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, and I love what you had to say there. The pictures you're looking at right there on your screen, that is 17th. That we just mentioned on the other side of the Eisenhower Executive Office building. You're going to see, if you look to the right, you see the dark colored vehicles there. Secret Service, they typically collect there. Usually there's between 6 and 8 Secret Service vehicles right there as you have an opportunity to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm looking carefully to see if there's any movement north, because as you go north, there's actually a pretty large building set aside just for Secret Service and other security officials. So as we take a look there, as we're watching now an ambulance come down, that's obviously concerning. And we're looking for more information as we get it. Of course, we'll keep passing that along. Tommy and Alicia, what did you have to add?
Well, we haven't heard of any injuries just yet, but we're continuing to check to see if we're getting any new confirmation on what this could have been. Yeah, you mentioned the ambulance there. That's the part that makes us all start to wonder, right? Again, is something else going on?
Or the precaution just because we're not
Yes.
taking any chances, right? So we don't want to jump to any conclusions. But Tom, to this point, you were sitting at the table with us the day of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and then Kevin and Alicia were here to the wee hours of the morning. We don't know what this is, but the Secret Service, law enforcement, they have to take every precaution if they hear anything that sounds like gunshots this close to the White House in D.C. I mean, I would expect this posture.
Yes, and after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, there was about a week of people on, all sorts of networks saying, how did this happen? And they were kind of after the Secret Service. They were saying, oh, they should have been more on this. The thing is, this is complicated stuff. The president, the president could be a shut-in. He could stay in the basement. He could stay locked down. But he's out there. He's out not only meeting world leaders, he's going to dinners. He wanted to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So the White House wants to be active. They want to be out there in the world, and they have to make it as safe as possible. So in that case, I thought, under the current situation, I've been down there. I was only down at that White House Correspondents' Dinner one time. It's multi-level. You can't lock down the whole building.
Yeah.
They did enclose the area where the president was, and they had that under control. That's why they did catch the guy. So at the time, I thought people were giving them a little bit of a hard time. The organizers of the event, the Secret Service. There's only so much you can do.
Right. Kevin?
Yeah, I was just looking if we can get that shot back. It may have been a local shot.
Respondent says they heard multiple shots and
Center. So the White House wants to be active. They want to be out there in the world, and they have to make it as safe as possible.
Sorry about that.
So in that case, I thought, under the current situation, I've been down there. I was only down at that White House Correspondents' Dinner one time. It's multi-level. You can't lock down the whole building.
Yeah.
They did enclose the area where the president was, and they had that under control. That's why they did catch the guy. So at the time, I thought people were giving them a little bit of a hard time. The organizers of the event, the Secret Service, there's only so much you can do.
Right. Kevin?
Yeah, I was just looking if we can get that shot back. It may have been a local shot there. Actually, that shot went down. We're going to see if we can get that back for you. There was an ambulance setting up there, and what I wanted to mention was, in a situation of this nature, it's not just obviously the Secret Service, it's also Capitol Police, it's Washington Metro Police, and a cadre of other agencies that are all in and around that area. And what's interesting is, to the northwest of the main gate of the White House, where typically the press and other visitors might enter, you do have that collection, as I pointed out right there. In fact, that looks like that may be the guard shack. You do have that entrance, but you also have a crossroads of several different streets. You have Pennsylvania, which moves at an angle. You have 17th, which is north and south. You also have I Street, which crosses just to the north of Lafayette Park. And so you have sort of several blocks of entry to the White House complex. And that's what makes it, to Tom's point, so difficult to engage in a lockdown circumstance like this, because it could be on any side of the White House at any given time, and people have to quickly spring into action. And as we look at some of the pictures, we did see an ambulance pull up there on the upper right-hand side of the screen there. I didn't see anyone getting in or out with respect to personnel, but I think that's something we'll also follow and see if by chance someone may have been hit by gunfire or if this is precautionary.
One other thing right now, the FBI Director Kash Patel has put out a statement on X. FBI is on the scene and supporting Secret Service responding to shots fired near White House grounds. We will update the public as we're able. And folks should remember, today, Don Jr., the president's son, is getting married. And the president himself said that he couldn't go because he had to stay in town in D.C. to continue with these negotiations with regard to Iran. What we don't know just yet is exactly where the president of the United States is as we are watching all of this unfold outside the White House.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Okay, so I know this is a lot to unpack here. So CNN didn't, and I know this is the thing, they identified the suspect, but there is a picture of the suspect that we have, and we will give our thoughts. This is the last of this.
Now let's go to Madeline Rivera in Washington on the shooting outside the White House yesterday. Maddie, what can you tell us?
Hi, good morning, guys. So this happened around 6 p.m. local time. So for those that don't know, that's usually around the time that correspondents at the White House are preparing for their evening live shots. So many of them actually heard the shots, and some of them scrambled to the ground for cover. The White House was placed on lockdown for nearly an hour. A Secret Service spokesperson says a person came to the checkpoint near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, and per their preliminary investigation, they say as the man walked up, he took a gun from his bag and began firing at officers. The Secret Service, they shot back and hit the suspect, who later died at a local hospital. Multiple sources now tell Fox News Digital the suspect was identified as 21-year-old Nasire Best from Maryland. Best allegedly had multiple run-ins with the Secret Service and had a history of mental health issues. He was reportedly detained by Secret Service on June 26 last year for flagging down agents and making threats. And again, the next...
I just wonder why CNN just didn't show the picture of the suspect. If he's, I don't know why. Maybe they just, I guess they probably didn't feel like they didn't want to give him any more fame, infamy. But I mean, he already did what he did, so I don't know why. But that's just an observation there.
Month for entering a restricted area. President Trump was at the White House when this happened, but he was not affected. The president later reacting on Truth Social, saying this: "Thank you to our great Secret Service and law enforcement for the swift and professional action taken this evening against a gunman near the White House who had a violent history and possible obsession with our country's most cherished structure. The gunman is dead after an exchange of gunfire with Secret Service agents near the White House gates." This event is 1 month removed from the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting and goes to show how important it is for all future presidents to get what will be the most safe and secure space of its kind ever built in Washington, D.C. The president there appearing to refer to the White House ballroom. White House aide Stephen Chung says the president continued working through the evening, posting, "It's 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday night, and President Trump is still in the Oval Office working hard for the American people. He's simply one of one." The Secret Service says a bystander was shot during the incident, but it's unclear whether they were initially hit by the suspect or during the crossfire. Charlie, Rachel, and Griff.
Thank you, Maddie. With that, let's bring in retired Secret Service agent Jeff James. Joins us now. Thank you for joining us this morning, Jeff. Based on what the information that we have right now, and there have been a number of run-ins with this suspect over the past year and a half, do we think that the obsession of this shooter, this gunman, had to do with President Trump specifically, or just the presidency and the White House? Is there anything that gives us any indication about that?
Nothing initially, but that'll be figured out. And in my career, I did 2 years as an intelligence specialist in our intelligence division. And we would see that. We would see people who were obsessed with the presidency, period, not just one person. That goes all the way back to John Hinckley. John Hinckley actually had plans to shoot President Ford before he eventually shot President Reagan. So it wouldn't be unusual to see an obsession with the White House and the presidency as a whole rather than one president.
So, Jeff, let me ask you what you make of when we look at the actual location, which I believe is 17th in Pennsylvania, where the gunman was able to at least get to and fire off shots. What do you make of where this occurred, and does it call for even more hardened security around the White House by Secret Service?
Well, the first thing I want to point out is that, the security measures work. This person didn't get inside the perimeter. He shot.
That's what matters.
That's
not right there.
From the north portico, you have.
That's all that, me, reviewing this video, watching this video, listen to him. The security measures work. Okay. You can only do so much. You can only do so much layering or whatever and all that. But as long as the security measures work. Okay. Secret Service don't mind taking a bullet for the president. You know what I mean? They don't mind that Capitol Police, FBI, et cetera, as long as the security measures work. Okay. So ballroom or no ballroom, as long as the security measures work. Because you ain't got but a split second to react. You can't be, no, you gotta, boom. Okay, suspect is on coming down 17th in Pennsylvania. You gotta go.
About 70 yards to Pennsylvania Avenue, and then this was down on the corner. So you're a good couple hundred yards away from the White House itself by the time you get to 17th Street. we can't continue. If we tried to move the cordon out any farther, at that point, we're starting to encompass businesses, which really lends itself to less security when you encompass a place where more people have to come and go. So the perimeter, the 18 acres that the White House covers, the perimeters are literally pushed out as far as they can go right in the center of D.C. there.
All right.
All right. Jeff James, thank you for joining us and for all those details. Appreciate it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
So there you have it, peoples. And we also, let's as we wrap this up, switch back to our all right. And so I did a little digging on our suspect here, Mr. Nasire Bess. Okay. So where did I read? Okay. Oh, no, we was doing some digging in the background. Okay. So how our good dear Mr. Bess went from high school athlete, Amazon worker to White House shooter. Okay, so they was able to interview a couple of his teammates and stuff like that. So it says, so I was reading the New York Times, or I'm sorry, not the New York Times first. New York Post says the 21-year-old Maryland man killed by federal agents as he opened fire at the White House. Checkpoint. Saturday was a former high school athlete, Amazon driver, before his mental health deteriorated and worsened delusions of grandeur alienated close friends and family. Nasire Bess was on the track team at a Dung Dark High School a few miles outside of Baltimore, where he graduated in 2023, according to the banner, which he spoke to friends, which spoke to friends and former teammates about his descent into madness. Goes on to say he was a fellow track team member who asked to remain anonymous, said Bess had never been an aggressive person, describing him as a very energetic and lighthearted person who believes he could have achieved great things if he put his mind to it. The first overt troubling sign of Bess losing control came last year as he was evicted from his apartment, failing to pay rent, and didn't bother to show up for the court proceedings, according to legal records viewed by the outlet. The teammate said Bess had a job but was obviously grappling with mental health struggles and had become increasingly irritable, leading to disillusions of the friendship. Jerome Patterson, who also ran track with Bess, described himself as the gunman's closest friend, saying the duo worked together at Amazon after graduation. It was during this period where Bess' grasp of reality noticeably began to slip to those closest to him. Goes on to say, we both worked alongside each other's, sitting and chatting each or every day. He came to me about everything and everything was fine until randomly he started talking about being in control of people and reality and how he could tap into a different frequency and hear and peep things that we couldn't. Patterson told the outlet. Patterson said that before long, Bess started believing he was God, which he said prompted him to quit the Amazon job. Eventually, he blocked him and started talking to his closest friends and disappeared. Patterson said, claiming that Bess was estranged from his family. After the Saturday shooting, the source told the Post that Bess was a mentally troubled individual who was known to the Secret Service for acting strangely and loitering around the White House grounds. In June, the agency had sought to have him involuntarily committed after he blocked a vehicle attempting to enter the grounds of the White House. In one incident, July 10th, which I think was last year, claimed to be Jesus Christ. He said he wanted to get arrested. According to court records of the incident, he was taken into custody but released by a DC judge on a condition he keeps his distance from the White House. Apparently he didn't. Apparently he didn't learn his lesson, okay? He should have been committed. Best failed to show up for his next court appearance and was wanted for arrest ever since. So he had a warrant out for him and already. On Saturday, he fired several shots outside the White House grounds, wounding 2 bystanders before federal agents took him down in a hail of bullets. There you have it, people. There you have it. Oh my goodness. Okay. My closing thoughts are on all these stories, right? Now, particularly this one, because this is the main course, right? The main dish. Mr. Best should have been committed. Okay, Mr. Best had a warrant from his arrest. Mr. Best didn't show up for his court appearance. He didn't show up for the court appearance when he got evicted from the apartment. So Mr. Best was on a collision course. He was on a collision course for a one-way. He had a one-way ticket, and it was just a matter. It was not a matter if, it was when it was going to take place. And unfortunately, the 2 bystanders, people got in the way of it, whatnot, and that's unfortunate. Hopefully, they are doing fine. They're recovering. But again, we have a judge's problem. We have a mental health problem in this country that needs to be seriously addressed. We're too lenient. We're too lax. You know, I get like cat calls and shouting and stuff like that, but you know, claim yourself to be Jesus, claim yourself to be God. I mean, that was because he had to, because again, like he had multiple run-ins. That should have just raised a concern right there. And I know you can only do, I think when it's a psycho, I think you only can do, I think a 24, 48 hour hold. Because if you're not being criminally charged or anything, you can't hold nobody no longer than that. But he's been doing it since last year. So, I mean, it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time before he had his run-in where he was going to, you know, carry out what he was going to carry out. I know there's a lot. I know there's a long episode. I'm going to upload this. I'm going to make sure I clip this up as well. I'm going to break this up in segments as well. So thanks for bearing with my reading as well. You know, it's hard to, you know, sometimes trying to read and talk at the same time, trying to look at you all as well. But yeah, system failures, you know, which, I mean, you know, you can only do so much. You can only prevent so much. You can only we will have to, I had another story, but we will have to review that story on another. I'll review that story on another time. But yeah, I got anything else? I mean, just be safe. Prayers up. I mean, stay prayed up. I mean, be safe. Be vigilant. You know, because ain't no telling what's going on, what's happening. Again, and again to everybody, you know, just if you can, you know, get your mental health check. Mental health is not your fault, but your responsibility. And try to be great. Okay. But this concludes this episode of the Night Audit. I'm your host with the mostest, Chaz Barnes. I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.